Yay, 5 of 5.
Oh, cannabis, our home and native plant. True healing love has all thy sons to chant. With glowing eyes we see smoke rise. The true north says all leaves no debris from far and wide. Oh, cannabis, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our munchies for more than hockey. Oh, cannabis, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, cannabis, Trudeau, please make it free.
Oops, my bad. My bad.
DJ Murph, turn the fuck up.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Wake up in the morning, then I wake and bake. Wake and bake. I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning.
Flight school DJs, I see you.
Wake and bake. I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning thinking about that cake. Wake and bake. I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning, then I wake and bake. Wake and bake. My money straight. Please don't call my phone if it ain't about that cake. We smoking grapes. Them Swiss are sweets. Hot boxing out the whip, my nigga fuck police. Pull up with your bitch, smoking loud packs. Waking, baking, fucking, cause she like that. I'ma buy the sack, fuck the price tag. Flip the work, then I get it right back. Wake and bake, I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning, then I wake and bake. Wake and bake, I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning, smoke a box of grapes. Wake and bake, I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning thinking about that cake. Wake and bake, I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning, then I wake and bake.
Wake up in the morning and I wake and bake. Jugging off a pound.
Good morning, D. I am doing relatively well today. And today's going to be a very educational show. I figured, what the heck.
Fucked up with no rubber, gave a tummy ache. Smoking every day because I beat the case. Ballin' on these niggas like a fadeaway.
Currently sharing out right now.
Wake up in the morning, then I wake and bake. Wake and bake. I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning, smoke a box of grapes. Wake and bake. I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning thinking about that cake. Wake and bake. I wake and bake. Wake up in the morning, then I wake and bake.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Weed Talk Now. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media.
And I'm Kurt Dalton, the founder of Cannabis.net.
And joining us all the way from Alberta in Canada is Dr.
This is
Igor
one thing
Kovalchuk.
that I
He is at
noticed
the University of Lethbridge
yesterday.
in Calgary,
One
Alberta.
of two things
Dr.
that I
Kovalchuk,
noticed.
thank you so much for joining us
In
here on a beautiful spring day
the
in the
professor's
northeast of
rant
America.
yesterday,
Thank you
that
for having me, guys.
things that didn't
Tell us a
might go
little bit
well with
about
legalization.
what you've been up to, because your
And the two
reputation
things,
is
well,
one of
one
the
I pointed out
premier
right in the chat
plant
after I
biologists
show was
in
done. I went back
genetics.
and
And this is the
chatted.
thing that blows
And the
me away
second
about the
one
cannabis world, okay,
was
is
this,
you
and
guys
Glenn
are this is
pointed
the
this out by
smartest group of
posting
people I've
this
ever met. The fact that you can actually
to our
dictate
group
the DNA of a plant and explain it is
is
unbelievable to me. So
research
first
is
of all,
finally allowed
congratulations
since
on
legalization.
getting to the point where you
So
are
we
have this reputation of being one of the
that.
top premier
That's one thing
biologists and plant
the
biologists in
professor
the world.
neglected.
Tell us a little
That
bit
is
about this
one
study
great
and
thing
why
Canada
you
has
decided to
now
study
is
COVID-19 and
the
cannabis.
research, and especially in Alberta, the funding.
Right. So we
Right
have been
here,
studying
Lethbridge,
cannabis since about
also
5 years.
Calgary
So for the
University,
past 12
and
years or so, I worked on medicinal
Edmonton
plants,
also
including
has funding
medicinal
that I
coffee.
know of in Alberta
And
alone.
as soon as cannabis became,
This
let's say, more
particular study
open
is all
in
to
Canada,
do with COVID
I thought it would be a
and
great plan
cannabis.
to study because, as you know, it provides us with food, feed, shelter, medicine, clothes, you name it, right? That's probably the only plant that you would want to take with you into space if it was the only one you could, right? So, when COVID started, we were well in the way of analyzing medicinal properties of those varieties. We have created almost 1,500 hybrids and analyzed about 400 of
I
them
forgot to do.
for the anti-inflammatory effects, for anti-cancer effects, anti-aging, skin
Jack,
diseases,
there you are.
oral health, you name it. And when COVID started, as you understand, it's caused by a virus and it's an infection, right? And if it's infection, cannabis definitely should help, right? And my wife
Certain strains
hypothesized
are
that this virus would enter in the same way
more effective.
as SARS virus. At that time, it was late February. There was no such data yet, but
Is that
we
volume helping a little bit
reanalyzed the
better? I
data
don't know
that
if
we
you can
have
hear
for
it or.
multiple experiments that we do. We use so-called 3D tissues, so engineered human 3D tissues that mimic basically your oral cavity, lung epithelia, intestine epithelia, and we analyzed the expression of these receptors that virus potentially need to enter on the surface of the cells. And we indeed identified several extracts that dramatically decrease the expression of the receptor. So to simplify, imagine if you have a house, a building that has 100 doors, and you have a couple thousand people crowd outdoor, and they have to get in there within a minute. 100 doors likely will allow them, right? So, but if you reduce the number of doors to 20, perhaps, right? The chance of entering the same amount of time is very small, and any infection operates by units of infecting agent in time, right? So if you have number of viral units that enter with our cells, there is a chance for infection to progress. If this virus stalled and cannot enter as efficiently, it will be eliminated by immune system. So our immune system operates well if it has enough, either enough time or enough players. Enough players means antibodies. You've been exposed before. Enough time means the rate of infecting agents versus the rate of our system eliminating them. So, and then when we found that in the months, we received the confirmation from the studies abroad that indeed this virus uses ACE2 receptor for entry. And therefore, what we found with cultivars is basically gives us a very high degree of confidence that those cultivars will slow down or decrease the chance of infection and will slow down the progression of disease for one specific reason, because when the virus enters our cells, it forces all neighboring cells and other so-called target tissues to amplify this receptor. So it's like you got a spy, and spy basically bites off others so that they work in concert, right? So, and basically that's how the virus prepares. It may enter through lungs, for example, or oral cavity, and will amplify receptors in your intestine, in your kidney, and everywhere else where the target virus is, target tissues is. And in this way, it will force us to succumb to basically disease, get more complications and whatnot. So that's the first study that has been published. It has not been peer reviewed. It right now is in the process of being peer reviewed, but the preprint is out there.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Doctor, in your study, you mentioned sativa strains high in CBD. Did you start with like a Charlotte's Web or an ACDC, or what did you have access to strain-wise to start with?
It's interesting. Most of the names would mean nothing to the reader, right? So because those are not common names, and most of them are created by us, hybrids. We did not have, I can confirm that this was not ACDC or Charlotte's Web that we started with. We started with agnostically completely. So when we profiled 400 varieties for inflammation, we did not pay attention. Indica, sativa, high, low CBD, THC. We first checked whether it works, and only then we checked what cannabinoid level is. And we're checking cannabinoids levels only for one specific reason. Because if the extract works, why should I care what's in it, right? So we know it's safe because through years of consumption, multiple studies, we know that cannabis is safe, right? But I would prefer this variety or strain to be high CBD for one specific reason. If a patient takes it, I want the patients to be comfortable. I don't want the person to take my pill, oil, whatnot, and get high right away. And some people may be deterred by this, right? So people who may have a disease do not want an additional impairment to happen. That's why we have focused only on those cultivars that would be either 1-to-1 CBD or CBD dominant. We had 2-to-1, 10-to-1, and as high as 20-to-1.
Can I ask? Go ahead, Kurt.
Did any of the other cannabinoids really stand out to you as CBN or CBG? Anything that really made your eyes wide open other than CBD?
Right, it's a great question. So most of the cultivars were, as I said, either 1-to-1 CBD to THC or CBD dominant. There was one cultivar that is THCV dominant that does not work as well, but works as well, right? So it's not as efficient, but pretty good. If we talk about single cannabinoids, in our work, we found that they work too, but not as efficiently as a full flower extract, right? And as you understand, if you take the full flower extract, you have 50, maybe 60 different cannabinoids and 50, 60 terps, flavonoids, you name it. It would be extremely difficult and long to identify what is active ingredient or what is the cocktail. I believe it's a concerted actions of all molecules. Scientifically, very important to understand how and what works.
Okay, I'm back in the chat.
If we
Sorry,
have
I had to
code
leave.
out there, and this helps.
Sharing.
I don't think we should waste time, basically 4 or 5 years of research to identify those single molecules.
Yay! I'm glad
so a
other
reminder,
people can
you are
enjoy
watching
the
and
snow.
you're listening to Weed Talk Now, a podcast produced by Pro Cannabis Media. I'm the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, Jimmy Young, along with my co-host Kurt Dalton from Cannabis.net. This podcast and show is available on all those social media outlets out there. So remember to subscribe,
if it's any better,
share,
we got about
and
3 to
like,
7
or
centimeters
don't
last night
like if
too.
you don't want to. But you know
On
what?
top
We
of all the
prefer
other
you to like
shit.
this stuff. Anyway, back to the show. So as I was saying, you mentioned research, Doctor, and you know, here in the United States, as you know, it's still federally illegal, and there's only one college in the United States, one place that's officially able to research this at the University of Mississippi. And there's been a recent lawsuit here in the United States that was actually won by a research firm exposing the United States for perhaps doing a little something a little shady to keep the researchers at bay. In Canada, because it's federally legal, you actually get grants pretty, I don't want to say easily, because there's never easily getting a grant, but I'm guessing you get some cooperation from your government in Canada for research, yes?
You're absolutely right. So in the past, especially past 2-3 years, there've been a number of grants out there. Yes, the success rate, as for any grants, maybe not high. For some it's 2%, for some it's 10%. But hey, together with Olga, with my wife, we had probably 5 or 6 over the last 3 years. So yes, so if the idea is good, honestly, my gut feeling is there is still some prejudice among the reviewers, right? Because when we're not reviewed and given a grant because it's such a cool plan, but because our scientific hypothesis stands ground and the experiments are solid and our names are good, and that's the combination that gives you a grant. But even then, sometimes you feel the comments reviewers do, they're not comfortable with all the support caused by cannabis, but it's changing, so it's getting better and better.
Yeah.
You cannot believe in the past 2 weeks how many calls I received from scientists, from doctors. I received calls from doctor from hospitals in New York, who is in forefront working with patients. He said that after he has seen an article, he was prescribing CBD and CBG to patients, and all 6 patients that he's given are doing extremely well. And I have their emails and their statement basically about that. So.
At one point, Doctor, we had put an article up on cannabis.net kind of saying, could COVID be cannabis legalization's what if moment? Could we find a medical study that showed that it either lessened the strength, it helped with recovery? Do you feel your study is comprehensive enough or a beginning to that moment in the US where we could say, we need to legalize, we need to study immediately, and this is the beginning. This is the study that shows us it can help.
Right. So a word of caution right away. Our work is so-called preclinical, right? So we do not touch patients. We have not touched patients yet. So we are working right now on several clinical trials, right? So including several US teams. I would, if this would happen, it would basically expedite our applications and everything, right? But I agree. So we have a great opportunity for studies like ours to influence the policy making and basically hoping that it will be open and decriminalized and whatnot as soon as possible. Sometimes situations like this influence politics, but in most of the cases, politics influence situations.
That wouldn't have anything to do with the almighty dollar by any chance, would it? I'm just saying.
That's all I wanted to say, yeah.
Now, Kurt and I are both located here in Massachusetts where we originate this program. And I understand that there's a local company, MatTech Life Sciences out of Ashland, where you got your 3D tissue samples. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. So it's a wonderful company. And as you know, a lot of studies that you do, in order for these studies to be very valid and close to a real situation, you have to use patients, right? And you can only do it in clinical trials. It means most of the studies are never done. And they're never done because money is a big deal. People who are willing to do studies is a big deal, right? And applications are extremely difficult, right? So clinical trial applications requires concerted actions of many people. It's hundreds of pages document. Preparation of these clinical trials takes months and months. But if instead using 3D tissues, it's a wonderful idea, right? So basically it's an engineered human skin, and they can alveolar epithelial tissues, and they can do it sex specific. So if you suspect that males or females succumb to infection in greater rate, they can generate the tissues of specific disease. For example, we have studied the psoriasis tissues. So they send you engineered tissues that looks like psoriasis skin. You can directly apply the extract and see whether the morphology changes or you change the expression of molecules back to normal. That's how we identified almost a dozen varieties, that strains that help to relieve psoriasis, for example.
This study, obviously, it exploded in our industry. We're all looking for that study to show how cannabis can help with COVID. But now it's really gone viral. You're getting picked up, this study, and people rewriting and referencing your study all over media. Did you think when this came out, you would get this type of exposure and this type of virility?
Right, Kurt, it's a great question, and no, I didn't expect that. So I'll be frank, the reason we put it out there, because we badly needed commercial and industrial partners to move us to clinical trial. So, we could go to the hospital, we found people, doctors who are willing to do the study, but obviously it's an organization, people have to be paid, and clinical trial of this magnitude can be anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000. We do not have this money, but we know this is a medicine that will help. And so it was kind of an outcry. It's very unusual and not in the style of me and Olga. We've been around for a while in science and everything. We don't do this, but the situation is such that we felt if we don't do this, it will be buried for a very long time and never help people. But now, because guys like you and other journalists who picked it up, I have several, probably dozens of leads and 2 solid cases where likely we'll get a clinical trial done.
That's exciting. That is exciting. One of our own medical friends, Dr. Ryan Zachlin, has asked me to ask you this question about 2 specific cannabinoids, a CBDA and a THCA. Now, here's the thing about all the cannabinoids, and I got some working knowledge of it, but I never took organic chemistry in college, let alone high school. Forget high school. Okay, I didn't even go near biochem labs in high school. But how can you identify each specific cannabinoid and the impact that one has on the other? Or is it more about the ratios of the CBD-based ones versus the THC ones?
Jimmy, it's all of the above, right? So first of all, it's not our intention to identify all cannabinoids, right? So because it was not our intention to understand what works. Why? Because I do not believe that we'll identify one. The ratios likely is important. I give you an example. When we identified several varieties that work well for specific rare cancer, we started doing ratios, let's say from 1 to 16 to 16 to 1. So we've done like profiling of 12 different ratios, and we identified a golden spot where we have seen potentiation, right? That means that if you have one cultivar reduces, let's say, the growth of cancer by, I say, 2-folds, another one 2-folds, put them together, they together were 6-folds, right? So this is quite difficult. It takes a long time, and therefore, there are some cases that we know what works. So, for example, when we did colon cancer versus breast cancer, right? And then we found cultivars that work and then don't work. And then we did correlations with level of THC, CBD, and whatnot. And for one cancer, and don't quote me that I don't quite remember, but I believe for colon cancer, we found positive and negative correlations clearly established for specific cannabinoids. But for breast cancer, it was completely irrelevant. So we could not look at the cannabinoids profile and tell whether the cultivar would work or not. Same with terps. We identified a couple terps that correlate very well, so their presence would either help or actually negatively influence the capacity of THC, let's say, to kill the cancer. So my point is that cannabis is not generic whatsoever. You cannot just look at a profile of cannabinoids and say, this will help me or this will not help me. In general, I would say high CBD variety should have anti-inflammatory properties, but we are releasing the paper right now, a second one on the cytokine storm. We identified varieties that dramatically reduce key pro-inflammatory molecules. And we have selected from a number of cultivars that know that work. We have selected 7 and out of this 7, 2 would do harm. 2 would actually intensify your inflammation. 3 did very well and decreased that, and couple had no effect, right? And this is already from pre-selected group, right? So one has to be careful and do the preclinical work like we've done before proposing that specific strain cultivar would work, right? Do not judge just by cannabinoids.
You just walked into my next question, which all the viewers who wish they had access to you will be watching this. Other than high CBD, I will ask you because I know that's what people will ask us. Doctor, I live in California. I have a lot of dispensaries around me. I'm worried about COVID. What should I go by other than just saying a high CBD strain?
Right. Well, just to make it sure, I'm a medical doctor, but I'm not licensed to practice, and I cannot make any medical advice or not. I believe that high CBD, high terp profile strain is better. So if just a high CBD is of concern, then I would pick the variety that has a higher fragrance, right? So because in general, higher terps varieties have a stronger effect.
You mentioned you didn't want to say a high THC because you didn't want patients to get that high effect. But what did THC in your study show with COVID? Anything as far as antiviral properties? If someone didn't mind getting really high, would THC also help? Or are you just saying don't use high THC because of the high effect?
Right. So I have to be careful answering this question because there are some things that have been published, or in that paper that we have released, we do not report separately THC or CBD, right? And therefore, what I would be saying, how should I say? I would be saying something that people have not seen the data for, right? And yes, there were varieties that were high THC that worked quite well, right? But the reason, again, we did not want to focus on them is that we did not want people that would take a medicine be repelled, let's say, by medicine and not take it again, right? Every doctor that we talk to in Canada or US has the first concern is, will my patient take it, right? So because in order for medicine to work, you have to take it regularly. You cannot skip, right? So, and a lot of patients that haven't seen it or haven't tried, if they try once and it doesn't work, they feel uncomfortable, tingling, or whatever, they will not take it anymore. And that means the medicine will not show its potential. So to cut this and answer your questions, yes, THC works, not all varieties. We haven't used a THC dominant cultivar, but 1-to-1, let's say initial 6-7% of THC or CBD in the flowers work as well as high CBD.
Let me ask you a question about, can I ask a question about terpenes for a second here, Doctor? And I've talked to a few other cannabis experts, scientists, about terpenes and the role that they play in this plant. Can you describe the relationship between the terpene makeup and other cannabinoids like your CBD, A, N, G, ABC, 1, 2, 3? I'm sorry.
Right. So if you look at biochemistry, the initial precursor somewhere very on the top of the pathway is the same. So the rule of thumb is, again, don't quote me on that, but if the variety is high in cannabinoids, typically it's high on terps, right? Then specific terp that is produced, that of course depends on the availability of many enzymes, and that's where cannabis gives a wonderful opportunity to have, because it has such a broad number of varieties. Imagine even if you take 5 to 10 major cannabinoids, right? And if you take 5 to 10 major terpenoids, the possibilities of ratios and presence of one or another are almost endless, right? you may have thousands of different possibilities. So therefore, you may find nearly always you find the variety that works well for your condition. So typically, cannabis works well for conditions that are involving chronic inflammation, right? That's where cannabis thrives, I believe. And some terps directly influence cannabinoids. Some terps actually can bind to the same receptors, right? So they can bind to CB1 or CB2 receptors or any other G protein coupled receptor and have either
nice
identical
guy.
effect
Happy
or
Baboon.
skewed effect.
Today
So
I'm
it's
dabbing
basically
on,
if you have a lock and you have a
uh,
perfect key, you open it fairly quickly and the result you enter, right? You may have a terp that can bind and the key would kind of stuck, but then finally work, right?
Ridiculous.
So effect would be
Normally it
slightly
kicks my
different, but
ass.
similar.
That
Or then
one
you
is
may
nice
have a
and
combination
smooth, so
when
we're
two
gonna try
molecules compete. That's why you say you take CBD and THC, right? CBD is a partial agonist of THC. So the
Last
higher
night's
CBD
show
in the
was
variety, the more
funnier
chances
than
that the
hell
effect of your THC
on Big
will be
D's
altered,
music
right?
toss-up.
It may be altered that you will feel
Johnny
less high. It may
Jams
be
was
altered
on
that it
there,
will be less pain
and
killing. It may
Izza
be
and
altered it will be
Dungy
more
Pants
pain killing, and that depends on
were getting
all
him
other molecules
higher
that are in
than
there. So
fuck.
that's why cannabis is
He had
extremely difficult to
3,
figure out in
4
terms of what
separate
exactly is
dabs,
an
one
active
out of the
molecule.
dab rig, really big
I
fucking
guess I have to ask, Doctor. Here in
oh.
America,
And
I live
yeah,
in a state, not in
they sort of
Massachusetts, but if someone says I can only
peer
get
pressured the
legal
poor boy.
access to hemp
It
CBD
was
with
funny.
almost no
I thought he was
THC,
gonna fall off the fucking
is that
couch.
as good and should I use it? Or how does the hemp CBD play into what you think of the THC CBD 1-to-1 ratio?
Kurt, it's a brilliant question, and I love your American hemp over our Canadian hemp for one specific reason. Our hemp industry was sort of, I shouldn't say it was more established because you guys started growing hemp in 17th century, something like that, but most of our industrial hemp varieties were classical industrial hemp. That means tall, stocky, typically low fragrance, low CBD, so pushing 2% maybe in flowers, and therefore very low taste. But you guys registered a number of varieties. I know in Oregon, for example, that are very high CBD and therefore high in terps. So the chances that they would work more efficiently than our industrial hemp are much higher. From the varieties we have published, there was 3 or 4 that are industrial hemp, right? And those were not industrial hemp, that classical industrial hemp that registered in Canada. We are only now preparing them for registration. And those varieties had higher level of CBD and better fragrance, and they work more efficient. So in short, if it's the right variety, it doesn't matter whether it's a hemp or marijuana, as soon as it has molecules that work. If it has high CBD, it has to be tested, of course, because likely not all of them will work.
You know, you mentioned testing, and I've got just enough knowledge to be dangerous about the endocannabinoid system. And every human has, or every mammal has an endocannabinoid system. And every time you try a different strain, even if you try one or Kurt tries one, I try one, it's going to have a different effect because of our internal endocannabinoid system and how it balances. So how in the world can you do all this research and then come back with findings about specific strains when you know that one, if I take it or Kurt takes it or you take it, it's all going to have a different effect on all of us. You talk about a challenge. This is probably the most challenging plant in the world, yes?
Right. Well, you opened the Pandora box, right? So because, of course, well, even if you look at, at any trait, it's a numbers game, right? So if you imagine you have an extraterrestrial landing and, I don't know, let's say in Sweden, and concluded, well, all humans are 180, blonde, tall, blah, 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 right? So, but no, right? So unless you take a representation of everyone, you would not be making an average, right? For any if you want to register a drug, right? So and get a DIN number, you have to do a clinical trial in specific population, right? So if I want drug to be sold in Japan, I better test it on Japanese, right? So the variation in our response, like the way cannabis works, it starts from first how it enters in our organism. So the variability is enormous. Well, it depends how you take it, whether you smoke it, you inhale it, it's sublingual, it's intestinal, so smoking and taking a gel cap, the bioavailability would be different from 70, 80% down to 5-7%, right? So when you ingest it. So the variation also between two people, maybe one would have 5% bioavailability, another one would have 20% bioavailability. Not only genetic makeup, but so-called epigenetic makeup. It means environment. An environment would be as simple as whether you ate a fatty food or not, right? If you ate a fatty food, you will double or triple your bioavailability. That means you need a 2-3 times lower dose to have the same effect. And in addition, all the genetic variation among human, sex differences, whether you're healthy or not. There are a lot of diseases that have either lower endocannabinoid system operation or higher. So in ideal world, you have to know this, right? So you have to take a buccal swab or blood test and see what's the health of your endocannabinoid system. What receptors do you have expressed, right? So based on this, you can make a prediction on the dosage. Even then, the doctors advise to titrate, right? So every clinical trial almost starts with low, goes high, and then as soon as you start feeling uncomfortable, you return one step back and use the one that is high enough and gives you still a good effect. So combination, and it depends not only how it gets into your system, how it works on your receptors, but how quickly it is out, right? So metabolizing enzymes are very different. You can have 20-fold difference in metabolism. That means if I take 10 and I'm just exaggerating, right? If I can take 10 milligrams of THC, right, and I will feel high, let's say within, I don't know, an hour, right? And then in 2 hours, effect is gone because my metabolism's eliminated it, right? But you may take the same dose, you may get either faster or later, and it will last for 12 hours, right? So because your metabolism is so slow that your system cannot basically kick it out of the organism very quickly. So enormous variations.
Doctor, you mentioned, this wasn't about going viral and being famous. You needed funding and you need more funding. Right. I think your study is very important to get U.S. Federal legalization of the cannabis plant. If someone is watching this, how can they contact you? How can they get you funding? How can they communicate with you to get this further along?
Absolutely. I'm not sure whether, well, Preprint should have the email there, right? So you can get in contact with me via email or look me up on LinkedIn, right? So under my name, and I typically respond to every person. So if I did respond, that means I was overwhelmed. Probably I'll respond tomorrow or day after, right? So, but yes, I want opinion of everyone, even if it's just a statement that, I have this and use this and it worked. I would glad to hear from you. If you're a doctor, so just want to say hi and say what you do. I'm not in a position again to advise doctors what to do, but I would love to hear their stories. If you're out there, a businessman, an influencer, or an investor, whatnot, again, we have all the mechanisms of using your help, right? So to advance this as far as possible.
Clinical doctor.
I hear start low, go slow, and remember that this is truly a plant medicine, and you are self-medicating. So you're actually acting like your own guinea pig when you ingest this stuff and take this stuff. Real quick, we've got COVID-19. I think everybody recognizes it attacks the respiratory system. I'm not a scientist, but I've read all about COVID-19. Is there I want to talk to you about the way to ingest the cannabis plant. You know, a lot of people still, the majority, use it and smoke it. They'll inhale it. They'll ignite it and then inhale it into their lungs. There are others out there that use tinctures. There are some that use gel caps. You even mentioned that as well. Is there a type of titration that is more effective or less effective, or again, does it come down to the individual's metabolism and use?
Right. So again, it depends on different disease, right? So if you strictly talk about COVID, there are a number of so-called gateway tissues, right? So if you're not diagnosed yet, so if you want to prevent yourselves, then use as mouthwash, a gurgle, for example, as well as a gel cap or oil, probably be the most advisable, right? So, you know, if the person is healthy, there's no point of inhaling this, right? So a mouthwash and gurgle would prevent, again, this is a hypothesis, has not been done on real humans, so I have to make disclosures that people don't run and start doing this, right? So, but that's what I think is going to happen. If you have a positive symptom, if you have been identified to have a disease and your symptoms are still mild, I still believe that the same combination, mouthwash, gurgle, and oil would be the best, because mouthwash and gurgle continuously expose. We have a great, basically, ring of immune health, let's say, right, to tissues in our throat, and washing and continually exposing them would have a tremendous effect on ability to reduce infection.
Like I do.
If the symptoms are associated with already with lungs, whatnot, this is extremely difficult question to answer because it may harm people, right? So unless I identify, all the blood parameters, the oxygen, and whatnot, I cannot say whether inhaling would work. I would definitely not smoke it, right? So it's just counterproductive. Inhaler may be good, right? So, but it would depend if the lungs are still reasonably healthy and whatnot. So, unfortunately, there is not a simple answer in here.
No, well, it's a very complicated plant. There's no simple answers, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Kovalchuk, I want to thank you for taking the time. Your study is awesome. We encourage people to continue to support research. And if you can't get it done in the United States, look north of the border, because there are guys like Dr. Igor Kovalchuk that are just waiting for you to write a check so he could do more research on the benefits of the cannabis sativa plant. Dr. Kovalchuk, best to your whole family. I think that you should start recording your family dinners, because I'm guessing that would be very interesting conversation amongst all your researchers and your wife and daughter and the whole 9 yards. So again, thank you very much for joining us on We Talk Now.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.
All right, and that'll do it for another edition of We Talk Now. I am your host, Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media.
And I'm Kurt Dalton from Cannabis.net.
Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We Talk Now, We Talk News, and In the Weeds are all available on most major podcast distributors like iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and our friends at clnsmedia.com and our flagship, Cannabis.net. So subscribe, share, and like our videos on all the social media networks out there, including LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the WeedTube, and YouTube.
From the dead to reclaim my shit, to the studio straight from the crypt. Lock loaded and I'm fully equipped. The hit sick as a bitch can get cutting his lips while I flick my wrist. I'm about to moonwalk on it. There's a walk in the park, I'm dogging it. Got bars like a gym, this light look close. I don't even break a sweat while squatting it. I took off just like they rocket shit. This beat's like Steve, I'm hawking it. Cause my all is just not from earth. If I beam down and rap, you might as well put it like jogging it. My rhythms got rhythm, my flow's got flow. I rep that 6 OTTO. That's 3 times 2, that's 2 plus 4. This Dr. got reversible. Shout out to Tech, that tour was dope. Chris Calico taught me the ropes. OG reverse, that spells all go. Which I must do now on my own. I can't stop, I do the opposite. When it looks like I'm on the bottom, I'm really on top of it. When they all said I left, I was in the heart of it. I can't help but choose. Take on the hardest. I downloading
video. I just came across this morning where it has all the artists in it. Right now, this is the first drop of this, and I grabbed it.
When I started to get bored, and now my bars all boomerang, just like the hammer on Thor. I tightrope on this beat. When I rap, it's all core. I'll upload it to Pornhub after on hardcore. I can't sleep if they sleep. If they sleep, let them snore. My work speaks. If they can't see, then I must and will do more.
Came lit in it, big. Love. Anybody wanna try me? I dare it. Trying to get a sample, it's clear to whoop your ass. Like what the fuck are your parents, nigga? King, then bring your parents back together like marriage split. Flowing in at your brain. What that mean? Not detrimental. You catch me like kitty litter. Know that I'm a dog. I hear the whistles. I'm running with this game, catching plays. I'm too efficient. In order for you to beat me, literally have to provide me the instrumental. And even then, look, I'm running my own way. When I step to the mic, I'm kidding this shit. Real as it gets. Must be bananas and don't come slipping. I peel with your bitch. Hearing them talking like they want this more, but you need to cry like this is a joke. Oh, you a comedian, might need a special. I heard you a special, like give him a note. Causing damage, niggas can't manage this. Second KO today, smoking no cannabis. Realize I'm still that nigga, no mannequin. They panicking amateurs. All of my haters been in the colony, really don't bother me. Fuck your apologies, follow me, king.
Hey yo, I'm back. Hi Susan, I hope you remember me. I've been training, waiting patient to unload all this energy. I'm an OG in the scene, feel like I've been here a century. I could die right here and now and I would still leave a legacy. Don't play with me in this industry, you not with the shit. I took a break from writing ciphers and I wrote me some hits. Then people acted like I sold out and forgot how to spit. But I'm back with my fucking arsenal, unloading my clip. They say I turned into a mumble rapper, mumbling how? Just cause I wrote about my life, you say I'm mumbling now? I'm just proving I'm versatile with my style and sound. I'm underground, but I put these other rappers under the ground. I'm profound with all my lyrics, legendary with melodies, powerful with my spirit, unbreakable to my enemies. Been here since day one, you are not on my level. Some things won't ever change, don't fuck with the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, I know I made some noise when I stepped onto the scene. Cause all these kids rapping started acting pussy, talking shit. Cause I'm a bitch magnet, I'm on some ski mask shit. Everybody hit the floor, fuck rapping, I'm on tour. I'm holding up convenience stores. Let them know that I kill it with a flow and a dude super dope. But I haven't got a cape yet. I don't even got a big boy job, but I got big dreams and a big boy paycheck. I know don't nobody wanna say shit. Download skill like I'm plugging in a matrix. I've been doing work, never getting a vacation. Back on the grind every time, it's amazing. I just gave birth to greatness, named it the bar and raised it. Music so sick, I bet you wish that this shit was contagious. It's crazy how these dudes be gassing up on instrumentals. Think you're indestructible, I'll break your shit like Tesla windows. Yeah, I just came back to shut you bitches up. I'm Disney Plus, like all your favorite shit just got rolled into one. My mission done, I'm doing all my own stunts like I'm Ethan Hunt. If I'm not in your top 5, bitch, then you're missing one.
Crank Lucas, baby, DMV shit, let's go. All mothers. Monotone medley, I rap like I'm sick of it, but my bar's harder than Chinese arithmetic. You ain't subscribed to Crank Lucas, boy, you sick as shit. How you ain't hip to this? My name is ubiquitous. I got the power in these streets, I'm the plug. Got a safe with 40 mil stashed underneath a rug. It take 2 hours to dig it out. I got your chick coming so long, she's still squirting while I kick her out. It's 2020, I've been rapping since the 90s. At this rate, I'ma be rapping till I'm 90. DC born and PG raised. I'm at the one on this site for running PG plays. I'm the rudest but truest Lucas you ever seen. You the messiest, nastiest nigga, a whole queen. I'ma drag you out the game. My name is getting bigger cause I rap isosceles circles around niggas.
Yellow and orange, but no red.
I break them up the same way I break them down. I go crazy, alcoholic on a payday. Music stuck in my head like I advertise for Ray J. It's psychological to have these minor goals. Dig deep, flip that, you see minor gold. That green'll make them slide off top, get wild Gumby, and the 408 you and lean you back like Al Bundy. Yo, Crip, I got you with a master class for the students. One call, that's all. I suit up like Ken Nugent. You two-person machine, you know that we go gorilla. Let it ring and you gon' catch it like a robo-killer. Been in the field, so they sent me to kill and pass the ball like Jimmy McGill. Still with the real, like a dark room, don't attempt me to film. Worst nights, hands smash, Mr. Rogers open. Uppercut, a tippy toe like Bow Wow posing. Shoot my shot once I pull. Jordan hater, fuck the bull. No jamming on the one like Stevie Wonder and Theo Huxtable.
Look, the name is Carly X, by the way. Look, I think it's time to let them know just what the fuck it is. Crip pass me the ball, ain't no running back, but I'm running shit. Came to set they dove just like Cleo, yes, I'm a gunning chick. You weak rappers can't stomach the balls, cause I be gutting and shit. Welcome to the slaughterhouse. Walking, you ain't walking out. If you love your kid, don't bring your son, don't bring your daughter around. If they want the beat, they getting cooked just like a quarter pound. Just that ain't shit sweet round here. Y'all rappers watered down. Okay, I'm petty and gorgeous. Let me inform ya. I don't got to show my ass for endorsements. Y'all chicks is boring. I be grilling rappers up like a foreman. Then I turn them purple and blue just like they play for the Hornets. I'm bugging. I'm from New York. We just don't midi rock on any night. Flow so cold. I'm killing any mic on any site. Type 5 if you can't see that. The ICU's where you'll sleep at. I ain't Jamaican, but this murder she wrote is by CX, sucker. Yeah.
My goal is to be well. I don't care what people say. Don't have anything to prove. To put it simply, I'm okay. I'm healthy, my life has meaning, killing it financially, make music every day, get to chill with my family. I'm free, not just physically but mentally. I live an existence that's minimal because this makes sense to me. I don't tweet much. The cipher gave me anxiety. I've never been the type to try to get the public's eye on me, yet here I am. Fucking walking contradiction. Always on the stage like some overconfident musician. But
I
often
really
my
like
ambition
the video
conflicts with
part
the inner
of it.
hermit crab. A yearning for obscurity versus the urge to secure the bag. Abstract survivalist in the ocean on a canoe. That I rhymed into existence just going off what I knew. I'm loyal to my supporters and try to honor art's integrity because I respect the poor and honest more than fraudulent celebrities. This is the biggest internet break I've ever gotten. Crip, thank you for encouraging me to push past my anxiety.
I'm ready to say the inescapable truth. I'm faithful to prove that they no cable able to play with the youth as they pull hateful takes this weight on the you like hanging a noose. Unstable a-holes aim for names and they shoot and blame it on who? MCs when they want to conceal the heat and do tricks. Kill the beat, imitate the thing and be ill but chill. They get really deep. It's soliloquy as we heal the weak. Make them want to still believe that we all will achieve through our skills. The dreams you instill we keep on the back burner. Pre-vow, we blow like I'm Nat Turner. Speak bro, cause a bump when you feel it in the slump. Under the village where I'm from, they go dealing with the drums. If you're still under the young, but got no fears. Only fear I'll move tuck up beer. Show beard like here's my goatee. Only right they wanna put me in a goat tier. Go here, you can find me in the cut on the east side. And me and Rod kitty up like yeehaw. Cause the inside of the porch got the horses, of course, it's gorgeous. The form put it all in the back. And I'm strong with a bat, and I'm on with a gat. Get along with a hat. When I tap your fist, get changed, stop tap. Decipher your cipher. My cipher decipher rhymes when you rap.
Now they know that we planning something. The planet is hitting the panic button. Try calling my poker hand if you think that this man is bluffing. There's nothing to make you fold under pressure. Nevertheless, something special. Extraterrestrial specimen. Got professors lecturing, trying to decipher my message. Dissecting by milliseconds. I lyrically kill a record. I'm feeling reckless. Use the microphone cord as a necklace. I'm so aggressive. The beat is my choice of a murder weapon. They know I'm repping. The 570 when it's time for a show. I rhyme with a flawless top in the chart. Sick like proof of the shit you lord shit's popping. From a shot in the dark when I ride. Chopping cars, lava, similar to molten lava. Y'all should've knew I was hot from the start when I hear some scary shit. Y'all better take this serious. Of course, I got the force of 1,000 horses pulling the chariot. 40 a pop your cherry, bitch. Lyrics so delirious when Crip has hit the beat. I know the world was about to hear this shit. Trophies.
Sheesh. Yo, let me start it off. If you recruiting troops, then you should call them off. These rappers talking hard, but they sweeter than bowls of Haagen-Dazs. Sick, I think I caught a call. Caught a body, caught a charge. I'm the plug, always was. Look at how most you started off. Never need a bodyguard, look how they looking up to me. Every time I shake a rapper hand, it's like I touch my seat. I puff the tree, get paid for appearances, and I cuff the fee. I cut their feet, they get cool to kids. They been trying to run with me, I'm quick as fuck. Could come off the top like a pickup truck. My light is always on, you can tell from the way I switch it up. I got a girl, I used to fuck bitches, never kissed a slut. So when you ask me what I'm doing, my response is nothing much. Punchlines is like uppercuts, not from Logan Paul. I'm talking about the ones if they hit you, they would've broke your jaw. Back to the rap shit, I needed a break. I see my mistake, still on the rise, the king living great. Sheesh.
I was 15 with a big dream, trying to figure out what to do. I was empty. Now I'm simply the best MC. Got the industry going through a frenzy. Nobody dope with a pen like me. Leave a blood stain all over your fresh white tee. Gotta go for they dose, so I'm at light speed like fuck fame. You don't wanna test my reach. Who's next? My beef get addressed by me. Fuck around and hit him in the LIPs. You can ask my D. Trying to flex like me with these kind of bars. We expect ID. Trying to end my streak to the tech 9 speak. Yell at ABC. I'm at XYZ. Y'all slept on me, so I felt like we should finish what we started. Till you rest in peace. It's a mail, get a one, and I'm still on a run. Get the chills when I kill all these children for fun. Every lyric's a drug. Are you feeling the buzz? Everybody wants smoke till I fill up their lungs. Oh, you thought it was a joke? I'm as real as they come. Got a 500 million views and I'm still on the slum. In the Matrix, for them blue pills on my tongue. Hit the kill switch, ill shit, deal with my crumb. I'm match with the energy, anybody ahead of me. I'm ahead of my enemies. Everybody a centipede. If anybody thinking they ill as me, I'ma let it be. Definitely got pen up aggression from the Hennessy. The pen of me is not no friend of me. But eventually my YouTube views keep proving my legacy. Y'all fall back, I'ma do what I'm gonna be. I hit them so hard that they losing their memory. Ain't nobody fucking with a kid right now. I don't even really wanna hear y'all out. Take a look around, I'm the shit right now. Everybody else need to sit back down.
First off, let me start the cipher by saying we run the shit. Cipher spitters representing like the Senate in this bitch. Cipher 4 is on the way if you just give me a bit. But it's a shame that some dudes that are ruin the chance of it. Cause when they ain't get picked, they start to diss and hide their bars and remixes. I I got a law degree in this. There ain't a fucking bar on this. They only diss cause they know it's an opportunity at hand. When this opportunity knocks, he'll be shitting his pants. Damn, it's kinda funny the second that I make amends with all these people from my past. I got new enemies in. From here on out, if we got beef, then that's happily ever after. Cause I only bury the hatchet in the back of a rapper. All you bitches all barking flaky like a sycamore. Heart is telling me to stop, brain is saying sycamore. I'll chop you down to size like my name was Lizzie Borden. Then I'll give you rigor mortis till you stiff as a board. Then I'll grind you into paper and write my diss on your corpse. But this is a certificate of your death at the morgue. Oh Lord, stop me, I'll be so obsessed with snagging bodies. It's a hobby, probably show up at your door and get to knocking like knock, knock, knock. Everybody wanna try to be subtle when dissing until they get caught. Then they be acting so innocent in my vicinity, bitch, you'll get pop. Then the motherfucker get drop. Don't nobody come and take a shot. I get to laughing like ha. And I gotta grab the mic and pass like I never had done before. And no wall like the hat from Dumbledore. And anybody coming at me know I'm full of madness and I'll beat you bad until your ass is numb and sore. Check the scoreboard, never take a nail that's for short. I'm at the top, I'm north. Put you at the bottom like a floorboard. Fast, take the cell, hold it well, and don't you fight back. For I leave you with no life, and I don't need shit.
That's tough. Man, I'm finna go hard. I got a couple fans watching and they here for the bars. I got to 1 million and they say it was love. Now I'm almost at 2. Now they screaming that's tough. Finish that, man. Finish that on the beat. Crip say I gotta eat, so I gotta kill him. Shaq always been a real one, so they gotta feel him. And I ain't never switch up since I got $1 million. If we talking about making that Skrilla, one of the realest to ever get to $1. Never get in my feelings, concealing all of my weapons. Put them up in the ceilings, don't make me call my gorillas. But now the clues get the feeling. I'm no like Shaq, respect the will in the game. Slow it down, coach, that's tough. Y'all know my catchphrase, so respect my name and don't you dare try to soil it, or I'll put your ass next to John Rule in the toilet.
Sun's up, time to motivate. I'm glad as hell I didn't wake up late. Now I've got time to do something rewarding. Take 2 hits, I get dressed and shit. And now I feel like I'm better equipped to walk through that door, to deal with the dull and boring. I've never been a fan of them Colombian beans. I can hardly think above my palpitations. Calm and collected as I pull on my jeans. No more frustrations. It feels like vacation because I wake up, I take 2 hits in the morning. When I gotta get up, this is how I rise and shine. And now I'm walking on the moon, I can't feel the flooring. I wake and bake, and now the world is mine.
Wake up, y'all. Open my eyes, I'm still high from the edible. Feet hit the floor and I'm high like a pedestal. A little groggy, but I feel incredible. No hide in the fact I medicate, so I tell the world. On the coach, still dressed in my PJs. By my lap is my dog and my weed tray. Sportsnet got the scores on replay. Rolling up 3 J's of some sweet haze. Whatever's left's probably going in a bong hit, along with some keeps, so I get a strong hit. Blaze up the cheech, but I'm on my John shit, I'm lit. Daydreaming about an omelet. Wake and bake days off can be a fun time. Coach locked, not worried about the one time. Door locked, window open with the sunshine. Ready for a nap and it ain't even lunchtime. I wake up, I take 2 hits in the morning. When I gotta get up, this is how I rise and shine. And now I'm walking on the moon, I can't feel the flooring. I wake and bake, and now the world is mine. I wake up, I take 2 hits in the morning. When I gotta get up, this is how I rise and shine. And now I'm walking on the moon, I can't feel the flooring. I wake and bake, and now the world is mine.
Thank you, Jesse. I'd like to at least put something educational in once a week, at least. This was long-winded, but it was very, very educational, and it's
Wake up,
and show
I take
related.
2 hits in the morning. When I gotta get up, this is how I rise and shine. And now I'm walking on the moon, I can't feel the
And
floor.
also you, Chrissy, have a fantastic
Wake and
day.
bake, and now the world is mine.
Remember, stay higher than your problems that you may face today.
This is a mad rap beat.
Remember, stay safe. Stay safe.
He's supposed to do it, he gets dirty. It's Fred Theory. He's supposed to do it, he gets dirty.